the nearest door you keep closed. Not the front door, a small one. You tell yourself it's about being tidy, but that's not the real reason. You keep it closed so you don't have to look. A very long time ago, someone closed a lid for the first time and felt that exact same relief. They didn't build a wall. They didn't start a war. They just took one thing that mattered to them and covered it. And in that moment, something small and strange happened. Nobody looked. Nobody reached for it. Nobody even knew it was there. For the first time, a piece of the world was theirs alone. And without meaning to, they discovered something we still do every single day. So let's take the most ordinary object in the room, a door that closes a box, and follow it out to the edge of civilization, and then all the way back to you. Starting with one strange question. Do we shut things away to keep them safe, or to keep ourselves from looking at them? This is Mr. Epically Ordinary, where the things you've touched 1,000 times turn out to have histories you were never supposed to think about. Let's dive in. Start with what it felt like to have no door at all. For most of human history, privacy, as we imagine it today, was far less common than you'd think. A home was often a single room, sometimes two. A family, their servants, sometimes their guests, all ate, worked, and slept in the same space. One historian said it best. People in the Middle Ages didn't so much live in their houses as camp in them. And think about what that really means. Nothing was only yours. Not the bed, not the table, not a single hour of your day lived in full view of everyone you knew. When you cannot close anything off, nothing belongs to you alone. Not even your own thoughts. And then we built the door. The very first cabinets weren't beautiful display cases. Originally, the word cabinet didn't mean fine furniture at all. It meant a case for safekeeping, a strong box, a place to lock away your coins, your papers, your secrets. And the moment you can lock a thing away, something quietly shifts. Because a thing you can close off from everyone else is a thing that is, for the first time, only yours. Maybe that's where it begins. The little lid, and the whole idea of mine. The word itself gives it away. Cabinet comes from an old word for a cabin, a little hut, a small space where you pull what matters in close and shut the rest of the world out. And once, someone tried to do it with the entire world. Naples, 1599. A man tries to fit the whole world into a single room. Shells, minerals, fossils, creatures hauled up out of the sea, packed floor to ceiling. And hanging from the middle of the ceiling, a stuffed crocodile. The picture he leaves behind becomes the first image we have of a room like this. A cabinet of curiosities. Ships were coming back from everywhere with things no one had names for. For the first time, people weren't just traveling the world. They were bringing it home. In pieces. A coral, a bone, a feather from a bird. No one in the room had ever seen alive. The world had grown too big to hold. So he gave a piece of it walls. He gave it a door. He didn't store the world. He made it small enough to close. And that same little word kept climbing. Cabinet became the name for a small, private room, the first place a person could slip away from the crowd and be alone with their own thoughts. Think about how new that was. A room whose entire purpose was to let one person be unseen. So follow the chain. A lid became a box. A box became what's mine. What's mine became a private room, and a private room became a private self. Every step was just a smaller world with a door on it. And then the same idea climbed all the way to the top. Because the same kind of room that could protect a coin could also protect a conversation no one else was allowed to hear. A private chamber where a ruler met his most trusted advisors behind a closed door to decide the things meant for no one else. That room was called the Cabinet 2. Which is why, to this day, the most powerful group in a government is still called the Cabinet. Sit with that for a second. The box where you hide your valuables, and the room where a country decides its fate. The same word. Because underneath, they were always the same wish. A world made small enough to control. So far, this sounds like a triumph. And it was. The Cabinet gave us property, it gave us privacy, it gave us a self that wasn't always on display, and the quiet room where almost every honest thought you've ever had was finally allowed to form. Every plan you weren't ready to say out loud, every doubt, every dream, none of it would exist without a door you could close. Hold on to that. The Cabinet gave us privacy, but privacy, quietly, became something else. Here's what a closed door never tells you. When you put something behind it, the thing doesn't disappear. It just goes out of sight. And maybe, somewhere along the way, we picked up a quiet habit of letting out of sight start to mean gone. You already know this feeling. Guests are coming. The place is a mess. So you sweep it all behind a closet door, and the second it clicks shut, the room feels clean. Nothing was solved. The mess is exactly where it was, but you feel better. We've met this trick before on this channel. The button wired to nothing, the dial that controls nothing. A closed door is the oldest version of all. It doesn't clean the room. It just lets you stop looking at it. And we didn't stop at closets. We learned to do it with ourselves. The fear you won't feel, the memory you won't reopen, the thing you never told the person who deserved to hear it, the truth about your own life you keep promising to deal with later. You take it and you do the one thing the Cabinet taught you. You shut the door. And for a while, the distance feels a lot like peace. And you have been doing this since before you can even remember. The first secret you ever kept. The first hiding place no grown-up knew about. That quiet thrill of having one corner of the world that was yours and no one else's. That was a Cabinet too. But a closed door is not an empty room. Whatever you put in there is still in there. In the dark. Exactly where you left it. Waiting for the day the door swings open on its own. We all know a drawer like that. The one that belonged to someone who isn't here anymore. We don't open it. We don't empty it. Because as long as it stays shut, some part of them is still in there. And here's the part that should stop you cold. We never stopped hiding things. We just got better doors. You have never built more cabinets than you do right now. The phone you turn face down, the screen that locks itself, the notifications waiting behind a passcode. Your whole life now lives behind little doors, except now they're made of glass and code. More doors than walls. And here is the strange part. For all those centuries, we learned to put our world behind a door only we could open. And now, more and more of your life sits behind doors that someone else holds the key to. The instinct that began with one wooden lid now runs the entire world you live inside. Every login, every locked screen, every agreement you scrolled past without reading. We built these doors to feel free, and then, one quiet tap at a time, we handed the keys away. So go back to where we started. Do we shut things away to keep them safe? Sometimes. But that warm relief when a cabinet clicks shut, that was never really about the thing being protected. It was about you, finally getting some distance from what's inside. We told ourselves we were building safety, but maybe what we were really building all along was a world small enough that we'd never have to face the parts of it we'd rather not see. That's what I wanted to leave you with today. Not a fact, not a statistic. Just a question worth carrying around. There's a door you still won't open. And maybe the real question isn't what's behind it. It's whether you keep it shut because you're afraid of what's in there, or because you've finally forgotten there was ever anything inside at all. Next time, think about the last thing you locked. Not a door, a feeling. Because closing something away is one thing. Sealing it shut so it can never simply fall open again is something else entirely. What is it about a lock that finally lets us rest? That's next. Tell me what you think in the comments. I read every single one. Not because I have to. Because that's where the best ideas come from. And if you want to keep finding the epic inside the ordinary, the stories hiding inside the things you've never once questioned, that's exactly what this channel is. Every week. One ordinary thing. One story you didn't expect. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Take care of yourselves. Stay observant. And remember, the most ordinary things are usually hiding the biggest stories. So maybe, tonight, when you pass that one small door you always keep closed, you'll look at it a little differently.